Imagine waking up a millionaire to then not have anything and being penniless the next day, or one day having nothing and then having it all. What I want to talk about today is how money is fleeting and like success can be fleeting. We tend to view other people and to put other people on pedestals or to look down on people, or sometimes we put ourselves on a pedestal, and life changes very quickly. Things don't always last forever. And I learned quite a bit of this a little bit after my mid-20s and into my late 20s, when I just met a number of people that seemingly had it all to then lose it all, and then met people who I thought didn't have much, but then they were quite well off. And we need to stop viewing people by their perception in the moment, because life changes very quickly. And I learned a lot of this actually in the 2021 bull market, when all the stocks and all the cryptocurrency went up. And I had a couple of close friends, and actually one of my closest friends. I still love him to this day, he's great. But I remember at the time, he became a millionaire through cryptocurrency. Mind you, it was on paper. He didn't sell. But I do remember just seeing him change as a person, and seeing him thinking that he was smarter than everybody else and that he was a genius. The way he would talk about people, not often, but there was times that he talked about people behind their backs, and I could see how his ego was up here, because he was a genius, he was smart, he made it. Mind you, he didn't sell, so then I subsequently just saw him get humbled and admit his mistakes, and just seeing him being a regular person again and learning from his experience. And then somebody else who I also knew, his ego didn't get too much up in his head, but I could tell that he felt quite proud of himself. Again, this was through cryptocurrency. I think he was passively making like $10,000 a month. I don't remember if that was like through airdrops or something like that. He was also, because I know at the time you could also put your USDC in these high interest accounts that some of them was like up to like 8 or like 11%, something crazy. So if you have, say, $1 million in there every single month, that's going to be quite a bit of money. But again, I did see him just kind of make it and then lose it. I know somebody else as well who I saw him just make a bit of money and then lose a lot of money. And then I also knew somebody else, he had sold his apartment for over $1 million, and then he gambled it in stocks, and then he turned it into millions and millions of dollars, and then he lost it all. What's important from these lessons is to understand that things change very quickly. Things can change very quickly. And if you are in a position where you are reaching success in a materialistic way, to keep your ego in check. Because the moment that you think that you're smarter than everybody else, soon probably the moment will come where everything will crash down. And that doesn't mean that you're smart to an extent, but it just means that sometimes you can have so much confidence in yourself that you have blind spots. Because if you think that you can do no wrong, and if you think that you're always right, you're not going to be perceiving yourself in a realistic way. And if you truly believe that you make no mistakes because you're smarter than everybody else, then you're not going to be precautious. And because you're not going to be precautious, then you are probably going to make mistakes, and then you are probably going to lose a lot of your success. And to me, that also happened to me, and to a smaller extent with my investing strategies. I've always been more diversified, and even though I did engage in a bit of a risk, I also had assets that were like very stable and safe investments. So I was never in a position where I could lose everything, just because I diversified in a way that if I lost a certain part of my portfolio, I still had other parts that were completely fine. But even with certain parts of my portfolio, even I remember thinking, wow, like I'm really smart. But I didn't face it to the same degree as other people did, because other people just put everything into like one asset, or to just cryptocurrency, or just a certain amount of stocks, like a certain type of stocks, and that can be very risky. But anyway, so because I was diversified, I didn't experience the entire thing of like up and completely collapsing, just because I did have some risk management in comparison. But it's important to keep yourself in check and to not judge people. Don't judge people, because sometimes the most average person that is just wearing a random hoodie maybe with greasy hair walking down the street that you wouldn't look at twice. That can often be the most successful person, and you'll never know. And I'm not gonna say where I live, but I live in a neighborhood that is, for the most part, from a superficial sense, a lot of people think wealthy people live in this neighborhood, and the reason I'm saying they think, I'll explain in a second. But I live in a neighborhood where a lot of people who are perceived to be successful live, or people who have a good income, etc., etc. And then by living in this neighborhood for over 10 years, I have realized that most of the people that live in this neighborhood, they're the people that are renting. And if you go into the strata meetings, it's mostly older people, retired people, and people that just look really average. I do remember at one strata meeting, there was a young woman. She didn't look particularly wealthy or anything. I mean, if anything, if I looked at her, I probably would have thought she was like a college student, you know? Like, she didn't really stand out or anything in any way, and she had 7 apartments. And all the people that this neighborhood is known for, those people were never in the strata meetings, because those are the 30K millionaires. Those are the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, that can barely afford their rent, that even scrape for money or ask people for money so they can have the perception that they live in a very wealthy neighborhood. So it took me a few years to realize that. And then also through meeting my friends seeing my friends go through the process of making a lot of money in 2021 and losing it, and also meeting people who I never thought had wealth, and then it turns out they did, and it's been more than one person like that. And the thing is that perceptions lie. The superficiality, like what you gather at a first instinct about somebody, you never actually truly know. And it is good for you to be humble. Be humble, because things change. And if you ever feel like you're a superhero and you're brilliant and everybody else around you is an idiot, I think those are the moments that you have to catch yourself. You have to catch yourself in those moments, because you never know, and things change, and you will be humbled. And I don't wish for anybody to go through these ups and downs, but it's important for you to be aware of your pitfalls, and it's important for you to be aware when being lucky and being smart are 2 different things. And sure, if we stick to the cryptocurrency thing, maybe you were smart to invest when everything was in a bear market and everything was at a low. But then you have to think that something like 99% of people never sell the top. They just write down everything right back down to the bottom, and you're going to be humbled. So remember, in general, don't judge appearances too much, because you never know. And the reality isn't often what it actually seems like to be. So it's good to be humble, good to catch yourself. It's good to try and learn about different things and try to expand your knowledge. But don't get to a place where your ego gets ahead of you. Because the moment that your ego gets ahead of you, that's when there's trouble. That's when there's trouble. I forgot his name, but he was one of the most well-known, one of the most successful investors of all time. This is going back 1900s, 1920s. Even I forgot his name. But probably even way more successful than Peter Lynch and all those people. And he made millions and millions and millions multiple times in his life, but every single time he lost it. I forgot his name, but again, back in the old days. And sure, he was always smart enough to gain it back, but then he would always lose it, because again, his ego would always get ahead of him, and then the risk-taking would always get ahead of him. And then, as far as I understand, he actually died poor. He died broke. Bankrupt, I believe. And I mean, that's a big example, but in general, life can often kind of be that way. Don't look down on people because you think they are worthless. You never actually know. You never actually know. So stay humble. Don't get ahead of yourself, is my biggest advice. Life changes quickly, and appreciate everybody in your life around you, because you don't know how your life will change, and you don't know how their life is going to change either. You don't. You never know. So stay in the moment and appreciate. Things change. Thank you for listening. I think I'm going to start posting some of these honest rambles. If you like what I have to say, I appreciate if you give me a follow. If you come across this video, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.